On a soggy and muggy Saturday night in Miami, USL Championship opens its doors for an Eastern Conference matchup. Loudoun United tries to keep their spirits up as they go toe-to-toe with Miami FC. And hello, everyone. With Eric Dobransky, I'm David Gascon. Thanks for joining us as this FPL telecast is brought to you by Wheels. And Eric, we look at the conference standings, what is and what could be for Miami FC.
Yeah, and this is two teams that have navigated some frustrating results recently, but they find themselves in the thick of things. I mean, they're right there at 13 points, Miami FC, Loudoun with 13 as well. So this is a big 3 points up for grabs tonight. And really what you want to do is start to put pressure on Birmingham, Indy 11, and Detroit City FC as well.
Anyone can get this contest here tonight, but for Miami FC, they got to snap a 5-game winless streak. How do they get it done this evening?
And the way you do that is trying to find balance in both boxes, because for Miami FC, offensively, they rank in the top 3 in the East in overall conversion rate. So when they take their chances, they're finding the back of the net. But on the flip side, defensively, they rank in the top 5 in the East in goals conceded. So you really do that with a collective effort, getting good pressure on the ball and making sure you're pressing players like this. Zach Ryan, such a dangerous threat offensively. He can do it in a variety of different ways. He can do it in the run of play, back to goal. Obviously, you see the service and the 2 goals he scored last week against FC Tulsa. So they're going to have to keep an eye on Zach Ryan and make sure that he doesn't have an impactful influence on this match.
Such a dynamic player. He'll put all kinds of pressure on the back line for Miami FC tonight. We'll see who pulls out 3 points here this evening. Coming up on the other side, we'll get to the starting 11s and first touch. It's Loudoun United, Miami FC coming up next.
Some people think Miami is just flamingos and palm trees.
And hell yes, we have badass sunsets.
But Miami's Little Havana,
Doral,
Little Haiti,
Hialeah,
Wynwood, Coconut Grove,
Kendall,
Calle Ocho,
Sweetwater,
Homestead,
cortaditos y coladas
empanadas y croquetas.
is so much more. This is the 305.
This is who we really are. This is what we are all about.
I am Latino.
I'm a disruptor.
I am LGBTQ.
I am a villain.
I am a mother.
I am Haitian.
I am an athlete.
I am an activist.
I am a king.
I am American dream.
I am the future.
I am
Miami
FC.
This broadcast of Miami FC is presented by FPL. Learn how FPL is investing in Florida's future at FPL.com/value. Volkswagen dealers of South Florida. Check out local offers at VWFlorida.com today. And Wheels, the future of micro-mobility is here. And we are live here at FIU Stadium in Miami. Miami FC. Eric, take it away, the starting 11 for the home squad.
I think tonight's going to be the battle of midfields. It's going to be Cabral and Akinyoti. What do they look like in transition? Their ability to get Stanley and Thorne involved in those wide areas. And then the ability for those entry balls into those front runners. Repetto, Murphy, Sorto, what do they become in the final third? They're going to be very dangerous, and this back line of Hernandez, Craig, and Segberg is going to be really important.
And Jake McGuire back between the pipes here this evening on the flip side of things for Loudoun United and head coach Ryan Martin.
We highlighted Zach Ryan, but watch out for Tommy Williamson and Leggett. They have 3 goals combined, but they're going to be very dangerous in counter-attacking situations. This is a team that really likes to force teams central, regain possession, and then go forward as fast as possible. So you're gonna find those plays going out wide to Williamson and Leggett, and then the runs of Zach Ryan, and then the joint of Hopkins and Landry is going to be really, really crucial as well.
Dane Jackman getting his 5th start of the season. Speaking of starts, Kyle Murphy, he hasn't played every game this season. Through 9 contests so far, he leads the team, 4 goals, and picked up his first 2 assists last week in that firefight against RGV.
And he's a forward that just finds ways to influence the match. No matter what the match presents, he's able to read scenarios, navigate those challenges, and find a way to impact it.
Temperatures at first touch, 85 degrees. The humidity right around 72% with Miami FC in the possession. They go from right to left on your screen. Loudoun United will be moving from left to right in their red and white kits. These 2 teams played twice last season. Miami FC won 1, and the other one was a scoreless draw. That's first and foremost what Anthony Pulis is always about, getting clean sheets. They were 2nd last year in USL Championship, Eric, in terms of clean sheets. So this year, they only have 3 on their side of the ledger.
Yeah, and we all understand that this is a game of just some of those game-changing moments, and it just takes a situation where if you're switched off, whether it's a set piece, a restart, in transition, that it can change a game. And right now, for Miami FC, it's those moments that they're struggling in. It's managing games. I mean, obviously the RGV, the late, conceding the late goal, the 3rd to equalize, was really frustrating. And talking to Anthony Pulis, they've left a lot of points out there. So it's a team that feels really confident with the way they're trending and where they can go entering the second half of the season, but also understand that they have to get it done as well.
See what they do here tactically. Into the attacking third they go. One of the things that's been a bright spot for Miami FC is how they've had the ability to score quickly, especially in the first half. They've registered 12 goals in 14 contests leading into tonight's affair.
Yeah, and Anthony Pulis made the point of sometimes subconsciously you start to back off when you score that early, and it does affect your psyche in terms of maybe winning those aerial duels, the 50-50 challenges. So you find that early goal, and sometimes it negatively affects your side. I mean, RGV, he asked the team, he was saying on the call this week, was you start fast, and you couldn't really ask for a better start than it was against RGV, but and then they concede the 2 late in the first half, go down 2-1 at halftime, come out flying in the second half, playing really well, find 2 goals, and then unfortunately switch off towards the end and concede in the 97th.
It's indicative of how their season's been, though, right? I mean, you start fast, you trail, you come back, you equalize, you take the lead, and then heartbreak in the closing moments. I mean, it was eerily similar, not the same score, of course, but the U.S. Open Cup when they dueled Inter Miami.
Yep. And to your point earlier, Anthony Pulis, his sides are always structured defensively. They're always really good collectively. They know where to press, when to press, what areas to press teams into. So you have to believe that entering the second half of this season that they're going to get a lot of those things tidied up, and they're going to be tougher to score on. So now offensively, we talked about the conversion rate earlier in the Open. This is a team that can score goals, but now it's about creating them and then keeping other teams off the score sheet. So you can imagine that they're going to improve in those areas.
And easier said than done, because unlike last year, the Eastern Conference is a gauntlet. I mean, the USL Championship as a whole is much better than a season ago. And so you have some special players littered throughout USL Championship. And I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but you really can't take a night off. McGuire comes out quickly off his line. Ball's intended for Williamson.
And I think if you look at Miami FC's schedule, and I know that these teams and these coaches, they are very structured in the way that they look at it game by game, and that's the way you should approach it. The team should look at their opponent, look for 3 points, but they have 2 West Coast games back to back. They go to Monterey Bay on June 24th and then come back home, and then they go to Colorado Springs Switchbacks on July 1st. So tonight, 3 points can really change what that road swing looks like.
Pretty decent service for Murphy. Murphy looking the long way. Didn't get a lot of juice on that. Jacquemin skies up for that ball. It's his first stop of the night. But that's something that we have talked about with Anthony Pulis throughout this entire season, Eric, is how do you manufacture plays and how do you get a guy like Kyle Murphy touches? Because he's the guy that kind of runs this ship, if you will, offensively. He does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the finishes, but he can't do much without possession.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to the areas in which you win the ball. And I think if you can find some more of those counterattacking moments where you do have good defensive shape, and again, going back to Anthony Pulis and the way he structures his team defensively, the best offensive shape comes from good defensive shape. And I think any times that you can lose track of Kyle Murphy in those transition moments, that's the time where you can be urgent and really be really be purposeful. Sorry.
Injury report can be brought to you by your Volkswagen dealers of South Florida. Check out local offers at vwflorida.com today. Florian Valot, as we have discussed at good length, unfortunately injured himself during a routine training exercise a few weeks ago. Had to have surgery. He's going to be out at least 1 month, maybe 2, but the hope is that he'll return at some point this season for Anthony Pulis. But that was a bad blow in the middle of the pitch for the squad.
It is, and this is something that Miami FC's had to navigate throughout this season thus far, as well as injuries, a little bit of inconsistency within the 11 because of injuries.
Yeah.
And that affects your team offensively and defensively.
It's the psychological component that's huge, because you want to build the continuity with your starting 11, and then those reserves that come in, you don't want to feel like you lose any kind of sail in your ship when you bring in those reserves. But those injuries, as you mentioned, they come at some unfortunate times, and they have really stung Miami FC. But they've been fantastic this year on set pieces. Let's see who takes this free kick. Cabral here and Stanley. It'll be Stanley on service. Jacquemin sees this one in all the way, and you'd love to have that one back if you're Aiden Stanley.
Yeah, and you could see what he was trying to do, shape it into those far post runners. Akinyoti there, just unable to get the texture that he wanted on that service. As you mentioned, Miami FC takes a lot of value on those restarts.
Well, part of the reason why they do that is because of the great size that they have on the back line, that they can use those players. One of them in particular, Callum Chapman-Page, he's not amongst the starting 11 here tonight. In fact, he's not even dressing. Murphy trying to accelerate. Don't think he can get to that in time.
And then Paco Craig, another one.
Paco Craig's been fantastic.
Yep, 2 goals. And it's usually either whether it's the initial service or that recycled service when you have those numbers inside the 18-yard box.
On the other side of things for Loudoun United, they're coming off a 3-1 victory over FC Tulsa. That victory was huge for a couple different reasons. First off, snapped a 7-game losing streak for Loudoun United. 7 matches in a row they lost. And on top of that, they were 0-8 after conceding the first goal of each match this season. So not having one victory after conceding your first goal, it talks about the lack of resolve amongst your club. But they got that victory. And for Zach Ryan, we talked about this, and I had more of the pointed comment tongue-in-cheek, but Zach Ryan, I felt like, accounted for all 3 goals. Now, he got credit for 2 of the 3, but he had a shot just inside the 18 that went off of Justin Malou and into the back of the net. I thought, and I think I can get the agreement from you, that felt like he should have gotten that goal, but nevertheless, the official scores say that it's an own goal as opposed to credited towards him.
Yeah, and influencing all 3 of those goals.
Turnover here, that one almost made its way through target with Murphy, but unfortunate for him, was blocked on the way in.
Is something that Loudoun's going to need as we see the quick play in, and this is how dangerous and how quickly Miami FC can turn things around. the ball inside the 18-yard box. Repetto, ball in, and another set piece for Miami FC.
This Miami FC corner kick brought to you by your Volkswagen dealers of South Florida. Gabriel Cabral getting his second start of the season here tonight. Back-to-back starts for him. Pretty decent service here, headed out at the last moment. Some contact there inside of the 18.
Fans, remember to check out the Miami FC beer garden behind.
And that's another player, Cabral, that is getting back minutes, coming back from injury, really starting to find his way into that midfield, that consistency that this side is looking for.
Well, you know it all too well. It's one thing to be in shape. It's another thing to be in game shape.
Absolutely.
So take me through that, though, Eric, because the workouts, you can only do so much during practice, but how do you get yourself acclimated to game speed, or can you?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the difficulty, obviously, with the technology that a lot of teams have nowadays. Obviously, the athletic trainers, everybody keeping an eye on the progress. I mean, sometimes it's staying after practice, getting a couple runs that are very similar and very game-like in terms of whether they're short sprints, combining them with longer sprints. But as you mentioned, it's really playing the game that's going to get you to that fitness level, and I think that's where Cabral is. It's really the recovery in between those runs, especially in that midfield position, and it's the detail and the execution when you get tired, especially when you're in the midfield. You're trying to clip a ball into some really tight areas, you know, be really accurate with those longer passes, and that's sometimes what goes away with fatigue.
Well, game reps are what it's all about, and Cabral trying to pile up as many as he possibly can. Bolo Akinyoti back amongst the starting 11 today. He was absent last week because of a yellow card in that Memphis contest. Landry gave it up. Loudoun United has not pressured Rocha, delivering the long way. That header just off the mark by Leggett. Wesley on that weak side. Pretty decent attempt there for Loudoun United.
Yeah, good patience in the build, but then really well done to flip the switch and be urgent once they hit that final third, almost catching Miami FC on that far post. And that's how quickly Loudoun United could be dangerous. One switch to the ball, and you get all your focus and all those eyes on that wide service, and then you lose track of the wide runner or the far post runner.
And then all of a sudden you're in a world of hurt. It's an interesting Loudoun United club. Last year they were in a tough spot. They had 8 victories last year. They were 8-22-4. 28 points, 11th in the Eastern Conference, a negative 38 goal differential. I mean, Tyler Freeman led the club with 8 goals in the season. They had 16 different goal scorers, but just not a lot to write home about. But they added Tommy Williamson during the offseason. They were actually acquired by Attain Sports and Entertainment. Changing of some components, a little facelift, and now a brand new season. You never know for Ryan Martin, but he's got his work cut out for him.
And really had a hot start to the season as well. Found 3 wins in the first 5. So I think everybody was looking at Loudoun United, and then went on that spell where you drop a couple games, and again, we talk about moments in matches that change the outcomes, and I think these are 2 clubs and 2 coaches that have absolutely felt that thus far.
Williamson, sharp angle, he pulls the trigger anyway, but that thing goes up into the stands. Williamson never afraid to take a shot. And you go back to that, Eric, you mentioned the laps that they had. The last victory prior to last Friday was April the 23rd as we look back at Williams' shot.
Really good drive here by Tommy Williamson. Tough angle, but he knew that it had to have power and detail to it. Clipping it well over the bar, but as you mentioned, Ryan Martin still felt very good about the performances and the process in which they were getting better. They were improving. He wanted to challenge his team to replicate the performance against FC Tulsa in their last match, and that's where this team really needs to find their footing and be consistent. You get a 3-1 win against FC Tulsa. Now, how do you follow that up? And this was coming off the heels of a 4-1 loss at Monterey Bay.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you have those younger sides, the consistency is kind of what wavers a bit. And I think that FC Tulsa result brought a lot of positivity into the side, believing in what they were doing. And as we mentioned in the open, these are two teams, although they've struggled recently, they're right there at 13 points. I mean, 3 points puts you at 16. You start putting pressure on teams like Birmingham and Indy 11. Now other teams have to go chase results as well.
And make no mistake about it, you can get hot at a moment's notice, and then it changes your entire fate, whether it's to the postseason or to the Bahamas for vacation. You know, for Miami FC, you think about with where they're at. You mentioned the 13 points, but they have given away 11 points from a winning position. I mean, that's both mind-numbing and frustrating, because you know that the talent is there. It's the lack of execution from start to full time.
And it's always fascinating because from a coach's perspective, it's really how do you frame it?
Yeah.
In terms of sometimes you scramble and get 1 point on the road.
Yeah.
You go down 2-0 and then you create 2 goals, you leave there with a point. But then you have games like RGV where, as you mentioned, you go down 2-1, you have a tremendous second half, you're playing on the front foot, you get 2 goals, you're up 3-2, and then you give up a late equalizer and it almost feels like a loss.
Yeah.
And it's really where the experience of the players from Miami FC is going to be really key, because they're still within the playoff hunt. Even though that RGV result stings, and as you mentioned, those points they've left behind from those winning positions, they hurt. We were talking about it before kickoff. Yeah, you're 2-5-7, but you have 9 results. You have 7 draws. You have the 2 wins.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to how do you frame it? How do you continue to find that momentum as we see Cabral struggling with something? I don't know whether it pulled something, or as we mentioned, it's just that match fitness that's kind of coming along.
Yeah, does not look right here in the 17th minute. And that's the worst kind of look. If you are monitoring a player, you want to see maybe some grimace in an injury, whether it's a bone or whatever it may be, but he just looks like complete frustration, like he knows there's something up and he can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and for the coaching staff, it also provides you the unknown of, do I have to prepare a sub, and what kind of sub do I make 17 minutes into the match? But I guarantee it's something that Anthony Pulis and his side have prepared for, because of what we were mentioning was right. Cabral coming back from that injury and probably being on restricted minutes as it is, as we see probably a hamstring.
So it does look like we'll have a substitution on this. Really unfortunate. Gabriel Arancio, the head athletic trainer, working on the hamstring of Cabral, and it looks like Dennis Duuna is going to come into the contest right now. Really unfortunate for Gabriel Cabral.
Yeah, and you could see him frustrated right now, coming back from injury, doing everything you can. And again, we talked about that monitoring the phases and the progress. Sometimes it still just does not work out to plan.
I mean, the expression there is in body language. This substitution brought to you by your superhero movers at Good Greek Moving and Storage. So Cabral out, Duuna in. Never a good time for an injury, but this happened so early in the first half. And you talked about the moving pieces for any technical staff. You want to make those changes typically in the 75th, maybe the 80th minute. Not in the 16th or 17th.
Attention, please. Substitution for your...
Absolutely, and obviously you hope Cabral, this isn't something that keeps him out again for a significant amount of time, because of him really beginning to insert himself in that 11. But as you mentioned, you could see the frustration, and now this early substitution now for Anthony Pulis and his coaching staff, it does give you the time to see what changes might have to be made going into the second half. Obviously, it does give you over 20 minutes to reevaluate, and I did like the urgency that Miami FC started with. It's really evened out. Loudoun United has found a footing in this match and grown into the game.
Nice play there by Bolu, elevating, trying to get to that ball. But now he's going to be called. Looks like that foul is going to go against him as he climbed the ladder against Zach Ryan. It's a 50-50 ball, though, Eric.
And it's going to have to be something that Jake McGuire and this Miami FC side are going to have to deal with. Coming in a really dangerous spot, almost square on frame, so really giving Loudoun United a number of options.
Now you're Zach Ryan. You got a couple opportunities here with two strikers to put this thing towards target.
You need to make the keeper make a save when you have set piece positions from this range and at this angle. And that's what Williamson's going to try to do, is even if it's not on his initial strike, at least make McGuire make a save and maybe give an opportunity to your teammates to jump on a rebound.
It's a great look from our crew. That north-south shot with Williamson taking the free kick against McGuire and company. The service, that one, oh, just missing. And McGuire, you can see the reaction, rather flat-footed there. Love to have that one back if you are Williamson. This portion of the broadcast sponsored by your Volkswagen dealers of South Florida. Check out local offers at vwflorida.com today. First major threat against Miami FC. It comes off the free kick from Williamson. Missing wide of the target. .22 minute here. Miami FC trying to get themselves on the board for the first time. They actually lead USL Championship this year with 6 goals in the first 15 minutes of action, but obviously well past that. Only had one serious threat. It was off a header from Kyle Murphy. Since then, relatively silent. Miami FC winless in their last 5, coming off a 3-3 draw against RGV a week ago. Kyle Murphy, Claudio Repetto, and Ryan Telfer for the first time this season found the back of the net. Telfer's goal occurred in the 78th minute, as you had mentioned, Eric. It was a moment of elation, and then all of a sudden the equalizer followed that one up, and you went from the high of the high to the low of the low, and even still it was a 1-point capturing for Miami FC on the road.
Yeah, and it's, again, how you frame it, because when you go on the road and you earn a point, you know, a lot of teams and coaching staffs will be fairly pleased with a point.
Yeah.
But in the manner of which it developed, again, getting the early goal in the 4th minute from Kyle Murphy, then giving up really 2 goals within a 3-minute span to RGV to end the first half. I mean, that's a deflating momentum turn right there. And then to come out in the second half and really play at a really good tempo, earn 2 goals, earn the 3-2 lead, and then to concede so late, again, it's been a bit of the story of the season for Miami FC, but it's definitely something that they can right, especially with the second half of the season upon us.
Extra ball on the pitch, can't do that. Although any team will take all the help they can get. Miami FC this season, they have scored 17 goals. They've conceded, though, 22. Loudoun United, they've scored 16 and conceded 23. So both clubs on the wrong end of the goal differential.
And that's where both of these sides are almost mirror images of each other. Goals for, goals conceded. But for Loudoun, they create chances. It's just about converting them, and you know, we talked to Ryan Martin about it, and it's just about moving on to the next opportunity and not dwelling on that. And especially with younger players, it's, you know, providing that belief that go ahead and keep creating, and that next moment will be there. Whereas on the flip side, Miami FC, they're not creating as many opportunities, but again, their conversion rate, as you see the foul there by Christian Sorto, knowing how dangerous Loudoun is on the counter-attacking moments, knowing that he needs to slow the ball down, picks up the yellow card, though.
There are moments in a match that you want to take those yellow cards. 25th minute,
Yep.
and you're feel like miles away from your own net. I don't know if Sorto got his money's worth in that attempt, as Kyle Murphy took some contact at the upper shoulder level, looked like maybe the back of the head. But he's now off the deck, and back he comes, but Loudoun United with possession right now. We had one substitution so far, and that came from Miami FC with Gabriel Cabral coming off with an injury, and Dennis Duuna replaced him. Aiden Stanley, nobody's replacing him so far this season. He started all 15 matches, including tonight, for Anthony Pulis. He's been about as stable as anyone can be for Miami. He's been a rock. Bad pass picked off there. Played through. Murphy with an opportunity, and the far side official with the flag up, indicating offside. Eric, are you in agreement?
And that's where Kyle Murphy has been so good. I mean, he left it just a bit early there, but really good turnover, regaining possession higher up the field for Miami FC. Just about a yard and a half offsides. Again, I think he was expecting that ball played in a bit earlier.
There goes Monovic, the lead official tonight, leading this crew down in South Florida. Match still scoreless here in the 27th minute. Santos, a native from Hawaii, it's dropped by Bolu, and he face planted there. We'll see. This will be a booking. Osmanovic getting the stern lecture to Bolu.
Just explaining to him that this is the second foul in that defensive third for Akinyoti. He almost thought that he was going to allow play to resume and see that wide play from Loudoun, but again, good area for a dangerous service for Loudoun. Get the numbers forward.
Santos delivery, Maguire, and that is a weak attempt from Loudoun United and Nkoa.
And that's both teams. Miami FC had one earlier that really ended up in the hands of Jackman, and now that disappointing service for Loudoun. So both teams exchanging free kick opportunities.
Yeah, both keepers coming into tonight's contest have not seen a lot of work. Jake Maguire on one end for Miami FC, and Dane Jacquemin for Loudoun United. Just not a lot of work, and for Jacquemin, he comes in this contest making his 5th start, goals against average at 1. The save percentage, though, is off the charts. You take that all day at 80%. So, yeah. But again, that's only through 4 matches, so a lot could change in 60, 70, 90 minutes worth of action.
Yep. No clean sheets thus far. But again, that's a collective thing as well. A really good tackle there.
Miami FC trying to maintain possession, but Ryan has it. Ryan pushing forward on the counter. Loudoun United with no numbers just yet. Williamson trying to pivot, pulls the trigger. Maguire says no. Great stop from Maguire. Play continues. And a mad scramble inside the 18. Jake Maguire with a wonderful save, and we'll look back at this in a moment.
And he gets that strong hand down, making a tremendous save near post. And that's what Loudoun's so good at. big tackle down in the defensive third, and they were off. And what a save with that right paw of Maguire. And then good intervention by Akinyoti there on the service. Looked like a second chance opportunity that Zach Ryan had clipped in, and it looks like a Miami FC player is down.
Yeah, another one for Miami FC.
You go back to being forced into the early change with Cabral. The last thing you want to do is have to make 2 changes in the first half.
I mean, you're like reading my mind. That's the worst case scenario, right? Not even close to halftime yet.
And you just wonder if the combination of the heat, humidity, and then the turf is really taking its toll on both of these sides.
See Santos. He's wearing the pellets from the turf, and rather uncomfortable feeling for him. Mentioned Maguire coming into this contest, making his 5th start of the year, has a 1-2-1 record. The goals against average at 175, save percentage at 65% right now, and has 1 clean sheet on his resume. The collective effort of picking up a clean sheet is huge, but obviously Maguire, the last line of defense, and a big time stop against Williamson to keep this thing scoreless.
And with that save, a lot of the times, and you always, with goalkeepers, you don't want to get beat near post.
Yep.
But you're almost always prepping for that far post finish. So you're almost leaning a little bit more to your left, and then not always prepared for that lower take. And that was a tremendous way of getting down for Maguire and making that big save, keeping this game at 0-0. But also really showcases how quickly Loudoun can go down the field.
Great deal of confidence from Williamson to pull the trigger from that angle. Duuna just getting this thing into harm's way. It's a rather uncomfortable position with Duuna facing his net. Loudoun United continuing to press right now, though. Decent build-up and a couple of dangerous moments. Santos looking for an angle, and now he goes all the way around the pitch. This one played the long way. Ryan the header in search of Williamson. Duuna's there, though, to intercept. Abdul Zane floating that around, and almost as a defender, it's a helpless feeling waiting for that thing to come down, hoping it lands on your foot. 33rd minute here from Miami. These 2 squads will play in Leesburg, Virginia. Nothing doing just yet. That one threw a couple bodies, but Hernandez was able to block that one before it hit Maguire. If it sounds like we're on repeat, we're not. I can promise you that. But another player from Miami FC is down on the deck. Looks to be Aiden Stanley.
And this has been a really progressive spell by Loudoun, playing on the front foot, tilting this field, allowing numbers to join. And it's got to be a frustrating first half for Miami FC, just from the perspective of the injuries and really the needing the stoppages of play. Because as I mentioned, I think that first 15, 20 minutes, although they didn't find a goal early on, it was good balance. They were able to stop a number of the counterattacks that Loudoun had started to create, but just unable to find Kyle Murphy. Really, Christian Sorto hasn't gotten on the ball in that final third either.
Yeah.
Repetto, same.
So Aiden Stanley, who's finally getting up. Tell you what, he didn't say anything to the lead official, Eric Osmanovic, but that dude had daggers in his eyes. I don't. Yeah, it was like someone stole his parking spot.
There was clearly something inside the 18-yard box, whether it was on that initial play or on that secondary service, that he was not happy about.
It almost appears like Stanley looked at Osmanovic, with Osmanovic questioning if the injury was legit. I mean, Aiden Stanley comes off the pitch and he was limping. Might be an interesting conversation to have in a few days. 35th minute, Benjamin Mines now in for Aiden Stanley. Santos, ooh, contact inside the 18, nothing called. A potential break. Loudoun United continues to push, and that will result in a penalty. And you go to the well one too many times, and Hernandez just got stung.
Yep. You really, the initial contact there in the 18, and you almost, it's that tough balance between backing off and allowing the next play to develop. But you see that Leggett retains possession and is able to turn that corner, and that's where Hernandez, he makes the contact there, draws the PK, but you just have to hit that spot earlier, getting inside of Leggett.
Well, Zach Ryan so far this season is 1 for 2 on penalties. The one penalty he took that he was stopped on, he scored on the rebound. So Ryan, the team's leading striker with 7 goals this season, looking to make it 80 shoots, and McGuire can't get to it. He guessed right, and unfortunately for McGuire, who's got a great frame at 6'3", just missed that attempt by a hair. And it's 1-0 Loudoun United.
And you just have to appreciate the accuracy. We see the foul here again by Hernandez. But the accuracy and having just enough pace to beat McGuire, because as you said, guessing the right way, he was a fingertip away from parrying that ball past the post. And that's where, as a PK taker, you be decisive and confident with where you want to go. Don't second guess yourself. Just hit your spot.
It's a very professional finish, Eric.
It
I'll tell you
is,
that much.
and the form that Zach Ryan is in just continues. Coming back from injury as well. We talked about the injuries that Miami FC has been dealing with. Zach Ryan the same. So
Murphy trying to split 2 defenders. Mines had his head up looking for him. Here's Repetto. Claudio. Dewuna. Ooh, Dewuna trying to go the opposite way of the pitch, but here's Segbers. Mark trying to maintain possession. That ball played out of bounds. Miami FC will continue to hold it here in the 38th minute. Sorto, not enough gas on that attempt to feed it over to Bolu. Dewuna over to Christian Thorne. Thorne making his 10th start of the season and now 13 contests. Miami FC looking at the scoreboard and thinking about trailing around they can get off the deck.
And then having to use 2 substitutions thus far. And I talked about the energy and the urgency that we saw in that first 15-20 minutes, but unfortunately it hasn't produced a clear-cut opportunity for him, because other than the goal for Loudoun United, you can't really say they've put Jacobin into a spot where he's had to make a big save.
Yeah, that's the important point. You got to put the opposing team on edge a little bit, if you will, and Miami FC just hasn't done that yet. Murphy and Repetto inside the 18. An attempt there, not measuring up. How about this, though, for a nugget, Eric? Lead official tonight, Elvis Osmanovic, He has been a part of several penalties that have been awarded this year. He's awarded 4 penalties in 10 USL Championship matches.
And that's a stat that teams have got to know going into it as well as.
Ooh, shot. No, that one's blocked on the way through. Benjamin Mayans trying to cultivate something for the home team.
There's a lot of things in this world happening right now, and consumers like myself want some level of control.
I am a solar development project manager, and I get to be on the forefront of the best technology to produce clean energy.
We've transitioned from foreign oil to natural gas. We're moving responsibly towards solar, battery, and green hydrogen, and this will all ultimately bring savings to the customer.
I know that FPL is looking at other ways that down the line will reduce my bill. We can be less dependent on oil, and the future is bright.
Back here to the action from FIU Stadium. Loudoun United 1-0 thanks to a penalty that was awarded to Loudoun United. Zach Ryan pocketing his 8th goal of the season in the 37th minute. Just beyond the outstretched arm of that man right there, Jake McGuire.
And this is where it's important for Miami FC to stay switched on, because you concede the goal, you're down 1-0. What you don't want is a repeat of the RGV match where you concede 2 in a short time frame and you put yourself in an even bigger mountain to climb in the second half.
Zane here on the corner. Pretty good approach. Paco Craig, though, there to intercept Santos. Miami FC has now conceded 6 goals in the final 15 minutes of the first half this season. It's the 3rd most in USL Championship action. Williamson was moving around the pitch earlier. Now he goes from the left side back to the right. Swiss Army knife for one, Ryan Martin. This one on target. No, that's going to go wide of Jake McGuire. Boney from well outside, from about 45 yards, in fact. Going back to that Loudoun United goal, Rick, I think you got to give a great deal of credit to Wesley Leggett, because you get taken down once inside the 18, and if you're not a veteran player, you might become so frustrated that you want to give it back to the official. Murphy trying to give it back. Nice move. Murphy with the left foot. That one's airmailed. You see the expression there from Murphy. I'd love to have a mulligan.
And this is the moments where Kyle Murphy changes games. It's always not the initial action. It's the second action where he's typically putting it on frame and at least testing a goalkeeper, but that one got away from him. Starting to receive that pressure centrally and had to rush his shot just a bit quicker than he would like.
Miami so far this season 0-2-1 when trailing at the end of the first half. Be kind of curious how this first half moves into stoppage time. If you did not join us last week at RGV, there was 9 minutes of stoppage time in the first half, and then full time, it's 7 minutes of stoppage time. A little strange.
Yeah, when you see those numbers go up.
Yeah.
I mean, again, subconsciously, you just go into how do you manage that, especially after whether it's 45 or the full 90. But that stat that you just threw out there as well, when going down a goal, that's where these two teams and coaches and even the teams that are at the top of the table, those trends and those storylines are out there now.
Yeah.
This is not early in the season where you're really starting to feel out the season. You're starting to receive some of those trends, some of those tendencies. Those become habits and identities, and I think for Miami FC, they've got such tremendous experience on the field and throughout this roster that you know they're going to be frustrated with the overall 45 here, but it's going to be a team that's going to be very resilient and adaptable.
Sorto. Segber's thinking about two things. One, receiving that pass, and another one, delivering it inside the 18. Took his head off the ball, and result a turnover. And a counter here, Williamson. Trying to keep the foot on the gas is Loudoun United. Hopkins takes a shot, and he scores. Nightmare scenario here for Miami FC as Hopkins let that thing fly. The DC United loanee in the 45th minute. Loudoun United has doubled their advantage at 2-0.
And here it is again, winning the ball deep into their defensive third. And it starts with that initial ball, that outlet ball that triggers everything. It triggers the runs. You see Jackson Hopkins able to find that left flank, draw a defender out, and then you really look to see where that secondary and other support defenders for Miami FC is. Preps it on his right foot and tucks it away past McGuire, and this first half just gets worse for Miami FC.
Hopkins' first goal of the season. We mentioned the DC United loanee. Has a bit of impact. Repetto shoots. That one just no enough steam on it. Jacquemin able to pounce on it. Maybe thinking he needed to hurry that shot for Repetto.
Yeah, and that was a good response, but you hope to put that in the back of the net, and that was probably the clearest of chances that Miami FC has seen thus far in this match. And we talked about the conversion rate earlier on in this 45, and it's definitely one you want back, because that would be a tremendous response after giving up a goal. Because this is a team that, playing at home and knowing where they are in the standings and really what they have in front of them as well, because if you want to be a playoff team, this is going to sound really obvious, but you have to go beat teams.
Yeah.
And you don't just accidentally end up in the playoffs. You don't sneak in. I mean, sometimes obviously you pick up some results and you don't necessarily sneak in, but you earn those results to be in. But you're going to go on the road. You're going to play at Monterey Bay, at Colorado Springs, then at home against Phoenix. Then you go to FC Tulsa. Then you host Charleston Battery, who are having a terrific first half of the USL Championship season as well.
Yeah, there's a noticeable difference between grabbing 3 points and just sitting on the one. And to your point, there's a lot of clubs in the Eastern Conference that are up and at it. They get after it quickly. Christian Sordo played this one in, volleyed out. Dewuna trying to make a move. Dewuna gets taken down. No penalty being called there. No whistle, no foul. Bolu, nice intercept. Paco Craig. Some miscommunication there as Christian Thorne was moving left. Pass went right. Leggett in pursuit in the middle of 4 minutes of stoppage time here in this first half. This one played through, another dangerous proposition. McGuire coming out quickly, making sure Hopkins doesn't register his second goal this first half.
And you've seen a number of services, those wide services for Miami FC, really easily dealt with by Loudoun, and I think that's going to be something at halftime that they're going to talk about, and that front line is going to be a little frustrated with some of those entry balls, because there's no deception, there's no manipulation on the service, so they're really easily dealt with. Loudoun knows what, they just have to make first contact.
Yeah. Well, make sure you stick with us at the break. Eric and I will have first half stats, highlights, some news around the USL Championship. Take a look at some upcoming schedules for both of these teams and a whole lot more. All that at the break. First half not going the way for Miami FC. Same thing happened last week, though, and the result was a 3-3 draw. They'd love to get something late here. Repetto tracking it, can't get to it though. Nice body positioning there by Daniel Chica.
And watching Miami FC practice last night or yesterday afternoon, this is a really positive, collective group, and it's going to be a group at halftime that's going to have some real discussions about how to change this match and flip it.
45 minutes in the books here from FIU Stadium. Zach Ryan got the goal scoring started in the 37th minute off a penalty. And for Loudoun United, they've scored 13 first half goals out of 15 contests. And right now they're riding high 2-0 at the end of the first half. Jackson Hopkins also scored his first goal of USL Championship in the 45th minute to close things out. Not the kind of start Miami had envisioned, but nevertheless, only one half is in the books. Halftime here at FIU Stadium. Eric and myself will be back. 2-0 Loudoun United.
No one was born a hero. It's an everyday journey. There are no shortcuts, no days off, no perfect scenarios. Things won't always go the way you expect. But overcoming challenges is part of the game too. Your time is now. When passion runs through you, become your own hero.
Welcome back to the FPL Halftime Report presented by Macron. Learn how FPL is investing in Florida's future at FPL.com/value. With Eric Dobransky, I'm David Gascon. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Saturday night. Eric, we take a peek now at the upcoming menu for Miami FC.
And we talked about that road swing against Western Conference opponents in Monterey Bay and Colorado Springs, but then you look at Phoenix Rising coming into town, and then away at FC Tulsa, and then again, top two, Charleston Battery sitting second right behind Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I mean, this is a stretch where Anthony Pulis and his side have got to start collecting points and finding ways to collect points. Obviously, need to focus and try to get a result tonight, but Monterey Bay is going to be a tough challenge on the road. Colorado Springs, they're both above the playoff line in the Western Conference. And then FC Tulsa going to definitely want to bounce back from their loss to Loudoun, and they're under the playoff line as well. And Loudoun, same kind of schedule. So these are two teams that have aspirations and ambitions of being in the playoffs, and we talked about it. You don't accidentally do it. You go on the road and you take care of points, and you can take care of points at home. Same with Loudoun United. They're going to have to go at Birmingham Legion, who's above the playoff line, and then Tampa Bay Rowdies, always tough. You have them at home. Charleston Battery, Hartford Athletic, they're a team below the playoff line. That's going to be a team that they're going to want to get 3 points, and then at Lou City.
Lou City not going to be easy. It's never easy when you're playing on the road there. And for Miami FC, they have not made anything easy. Right now, they're behind the 8 ball. 2-0 is the score. Loudoun United with the advantage at the break.
Some people think Miami is just flamingos and palm trees.
Hell yes, we have badass sunsets.
Miami's Little Havana,
Doral,
Little Haiti,
Hialeah,
Wynwood, Coconut Grove,
Kendall,
Calle Ocho,
Sweetwater,
Homestead,
cortaditos y coladas
empanadas y croquetas.
is so much more. This is the 305.
This is who we really are. This is what we are all about.
I am Latino.
I'm a disruptor.
I am LGBTQ.
I am a villain.
I am a mother.
I am Haitian.
I am an athlete.
I am an activist.
I am a king.
I am American dream.
I am the future.
I am Miami FC.
Zach Ryan, his 8th goal of the season. Jackson Hopkins, his 1st of the year with Loudoun United. And at the break right now, Loudoun United has the advantage over Miami FC. 2-0 is the count.
Are you ready? Ready for more of the game you love? Ready for more players and more teams? Ready for more stadiums, for more fans in more cities? This is a different league. The USL Super League. Built for the future of women's soccer. Bridging the journey from youth to pro, connected to the global game, and bringing it all closer to home. Are you ready?
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Welcome back. The FPL Halftime Report presented by Macron. Eric Dobransky, I'm David Gascon. A little wet on this Saturday night, but glad you can participate in the festivities with us. Loudoun United right now up 2-0 over Miami FC. Eric, we take a peek around USL Championship action with news and notes around the league.
USL on ESPN2, Phoenix Rising at Memphis, or versus Memphis. Really big matchup on July 1st. Coaching change in New Mexico, and that's aside. Again, we talk about how ambitious the two teams are in tonight's matchup. That's aside New Mexico United that are going to look to get some results.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned it earlier during the show of how competitive not only the Eastern Conference is, but the Western Conference. And if you fall below that playoff line, that could mean not only player personnel changes, but also changes with the technical staff, because you have to act quickly, otherwise you're left in the dust.
And it's this midway point in the season where you're just beginning to enter that second half of the season, where you still have plenty of games out there, plenty of points out there to go get. So I think that's where New Mexico is, right below that playoff line, but just chasing Phoenix and chasing Colorado Springs. And we talked about it in the first half. You string a couple results together, and all of a sudden your playoff positioning is a lot different.
Yeah, it's amazing how things can change with a few wins or a few losses. As far as what's on tap, USL Championship menu today and also tomorrow as well. We'll get into that. But as far as tonight's festivity goes, what jumps out to you the most?
I think the 10 p.m. matchup with Oakland Roots and Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I mean, Oakland Roots, they've done a good job stringing 3 straight results, 2 wins and a draw, and they actually have 3 wins and 1 draw in their last 5 results. And then Pittsburgh Riverhounds having that tremendous run in the U.S. Open Cup, and then being at the top of the Eastern Conference as well. So that's going to be a tough matchup. Bob Lilly's team's always tough to break down. Colorado Springs, Las Vegas Lights is another one. Can Colorado Springs bounce back and continue to get results with Las Vegas at the bottom of the playoff line at the bottom of the Western Conference, and Detroit City and Memphis is going to be another big one.
I don't know who's going to be keeper of the year, but Paul Blanchette's got my money on him. He's been awesome this year for Oakland, and it seems like every time there's a big stop around USL Championship, Blanchette's amongst the guys in those highlights. We're at the break right now. Loudoun United leading Miami FC 2-0. When we return, we'll get you some first half stats and also highlights. More to come on the other side.
No one was born a hero. It's an everyday journey. There are no shortcuts, no days off, no perfect scenarios. Things won't always go the way you expect. But overcoming challenges is part of the game too. Your time is now. When passion runs through you, become your own hero.
This broadcast is brought to you by FPL. Learn how FPL is investing in Florida's future at FPL.com/value. Tata 2 and Macron. First half highlights after 45 minutes of play. We look back. Eric, take us through this.
And it was a positive start for Miami FC, playing on the front foot, finding these wide areas. You see Curtis Thorne here with the services. But as I mentioned throughout that 45, the predictability was there for Loudoun. Any ball that ended up wide for Miami FC, they were able to get back into their 18-yard box. Here, a free kick right outside the 18 for Loudoun. And it was this transition moment, quickly done by Jackson Hopkins, and then Tommy Williamson forcing McGuire into a really strong near post save, putting it on his right foot. As a goalkeeper, you're prepping for that far post finish. And then this was the penalty kick. Hernandez, and even before this, the clip, Hernandez had put Leggett on the ground, and then Leggett gets around the corner, draws the PK, and what a finish for Zach Ryan, who's been in tremendous form coming back from injury. The accuracy on that penalty kick, and then another transition moment, counterattack for Loudoun United, winning the ball in their defensive third, going up the field very quickly. And then the finish by Jackson Hopkins, just putting it on his right foot, prep. You see his eyes up, getting a new picture of frame and where Jake McGuire are, and this is how they find themselves up 2-0. And Miami FC's got to be scratching their heads just a bit, because you do like the urgency of the first 15, 20 minutes of that 45.
Yeah.
And then it really dimmed out. They had to make they were forced into 2 changes with Cabral and Stanley having to come off, and probably a lot more questions than answers right now entering the second half. But it's an experienced group for Miami FC, and I'm very interested to see how this first 10, 15 minutes comes out, because if you can score a goal in this first 10 minutes, you put a lot of pressure right back on Loudoun United.
First half stats brought to you by Takes, and we have another substitution as Benjamin Ofiemu coming into the contest for Moises Hernandez. That substitution brought to you by your superhero movers at Good Greek Moving and Storage. So one maybe out of necessity for Anthony Pulis, but the other 2 was not for cause. It was injury sustained, and you'd mentioned it. Aiden Stanley being removed, Gabriel Cabral being removed, and you know, almost like they were being dragged off the turf because of 2 injuries, lower body injuries, and you have to really feel bad for those 2 competitors. Weather today, at least the temperatures, rather warm. The humidity, obviously, here in South Florida always gets to you, but you know, these guys have been in game shape for a long period of time, especially Aiden Stanley, and sometimes those things just give way, and so you can only hope that they can both return to competitive action next week when they take on Monterey Bay FC.
And you could see the frustration on both players, because they come from movement that they do every day in practice and games, and that's where you have so many more question marks than you have answers. And it's, you know, I don't want to.
Dangerous moment here, and that shot goes floating over the net from Landry. I say floating rather loosely because that was a pretty decent strike. McGuire looked like he had a beat on it.
I don't want to stress these next 2 away games for Miami FC, but when you deal with 2 injuries like you just did with Cabral and Stanley, sometimes it even adds a bit more challenge to follow that progress and build through those phases of return to play, because you're traveling and then you're traveling back, your training times and days maybe become a little inconsistent. But sometimes it benefits the athlete where they have the time away to be with the trainers and rehab and PT. And
Number 6, Moises Hernandez, and number 22, Benjamin Ofiemu.
This thing peeled all the way back. Sané. Nice little nutmeg here. Landry played it through. Williamson a little too tough to handle here in the 48th minute. And you mentioned it earlier because of us nearing our way towards the halfway point in the season. I mean, it's one thing to think about the schedule and you open up and you're like, okay, March is here, April's here. But then all of a sudden you blink. Now we're midway through June. And then it gets to July, and if you're behind that playoff line, all of a sudden the intensity gets cranked up. And then potentially the anxiety, because you go from worrying about what you're doing in your game to looking at matches on the scoreboard.
Yep. And then you might put yourself in a situation where you need help, and you could want and need results to go different ways, but it's really not in your control. So you really want to put yourself in a position where, as you mentioned, you're not starting your playoff run in early July because you're playing from behind and you've got to regain so many points. Maybe not early July, but maybe mid-July, where it starts to, as you mentioned, that pressure starts to really ramp up. And even just to make the playoffs, now every game is a must-win, and collecting 3 points. And
Murphy trying to make a move there on the boundary. Yeah, it's almost like you're redlining the engine every single game.
And for a team that's dealt with so many injuries, and obviously we talk about the 2 that they've dealt with tonight, but they've already dealt with it coming into this match as well. You put a lot of stress on that roster and the depth and the performance day in and day out.
Well, the injury report we highlighted earlier in the show, Florian Valleau out at least a month. Joaquin Rivas also out. Callan Chapman-Page not amongst the regulars here this evening, not even dressing.
You just don't leave any room for error in that stretch. And I mean, for some teams, they play better with that pressure. But I think, you know, you talk to Anthony Pulis and his coaching staff and these players, this has been a disappointing winless run. I mentioned it in the first half. You have the 2 wins, then you have the 7 draws. So technically 9 results overall, but only picking up 1 point at a time. I mean, while other teams are collecting 3, I mean, that really starts to add up over a body of work.
A little too hot to handle for Leggett. We're in the 51st minute here. And 3 changes already made by Miami FC. And we'll send it down to the 3rd member of our team, Lauren Markworth. Lauren's got a bunch of stuff, things to talk about. Lauren, why don't you take it away for us?
Yeah, I'm pitch side and kind of a crazy first half. Second half, Miami FC needs to start this first half strong, gain confidence, gain momentum. If they want to turn this game around, they're down 2-0. You know, like I said, the first half was chaotic. There was injury, and it was really hot. There was actually lightning right outside the legal limit, which made them cancel the the water break at the 30th minute. So going back to the second half, to win this match, Miami FC needs to do 2 things. Take chances. They need to take shots, and most importantly, they need to have the composure to finish those chances. They need some goals.
Appreciate that, Lauren. All starts with possession. You know, they had a pretty decent amount of that in the first half, but not a lot of pressure on the back line of Loudoun United.
Yeah, and to Lauren's point, that conversion rate, it's only special if you're taking chances, and it's that saying is you got to buy a ticket to win the raffle.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking those chances and really flipping that momentum, then you're going to find yourself playing from behind. And I think for Miami FC, again, to Lauren's point, starting out fast here, unfortunately, probably not the start in this first 7 minutes that Anthony Pulis and his side were looking for, because Loudoun's seeing a lot of the ball.
Christian Sordo trying to play this one to Kyle Murphy, but Jacquemin comes immediately out. Chica was there to keep him out of harm's way. Ryan could not win it. Ryan goes down. It looked like he was trying to sell something. Osmanovic, lead official tonight, not buying it. Here's Christian. It's going to be Curtis Thorne.
I think that
changes. Sorry,
that 60, 65 minute mark is really going to be the gauge for Miami FC and Anthony Pulis. Can they really push the tempo this next 10 minutes or so? They've got to pull one back. I mean, even if you find one before the 80th minute, you're going to give yourself a really good 10-minute spell where you can find the equalizer. But but you can't go 80 minutes and beyond, still down 2-0.
Ooh, the cross for Murphy. Christian Sordo shoots that one off the crossbar. Great creativity here from Curtis Thorne.
And Anthony Pulis said it earlier this week that this is a game of fine margins and outcomes can be very different. What a service and what a strike by Christian Sordo.
Unfortunate for him, the Iron Unkind. This portion of the broadcast brought to you by Good Greek Moving and Storage, your superhero movers. We were just inches away from having this thing be 2-1. And Christian Sordo vying for his third goal of the season. Had an awesome attempt towards target. This should result in a booking from Landry. That's exactly the case in the 54th minute.
And you can hear Anthony Pulis saying putting in play. They want urgency right now. All those restarts. Put the ball down. Don't let Loudoun United get set, because it's what they've done a really good job of thus far, as we see the foul by Landry on Mines.
Attention please, a yellow card has been issued.
So Landry, the yellow card. It's the first one of the night for Loudoun United, occurring here in the 54th minute.
This is a Loudoun United side that's playing with a lot of balance tonight thus far. Doing it in both boxes, and when we talked to Ryan Martin this week, he put it very simply, it's about winning the boxes, both sides of it. Defending well when you're being asked those kind of questions, whether it's restarts, whether it's in the run of play, and then taking and burying those chances when you create them. And we saw it with the penalty kick for Zach Ryan. And then the finish by Jackson Hopkins.
Thorne. Double team immediately came towards Curtis Thorne. That was fast from Loudoun United. And forced it into a giveaway. A nice play by Paco Craig, though, to win that possession. Bolu tried feeding it to Sordo. Landry with possession now. Duuna. A little bit of a mix-up here. Jackman came racing out, but Miami FC with possession. Elvis Osmanovic stopping activity right now. Rocha down on the deck. Miami FC this season is 0-2-1 when they trail at the end of the first half. Loudoun United 4-1-1 when they lead at the end of the first half.
You talk about trends, and that's something for Loudoun United that they're going to want to continue. There's always, every game has a story of its own. It's going to present different scenarios, different challenges, ask different questions. But that's a trend for Ryan Martin and his side. They're going to want to continue. And they're going to know when you're up 2-0 that you're going to face a good 15, 20 minutes of urgency. And if you can weather that and really manage those moments, you're going to put yourself in really good shape at a 2-0.
Mine's getting taken down by Hopkins.
And I was just about to say, is you don't want to give up free kicks like this for a team like Miami FC that really take a lot of value in them. And this is a great way for them to get back into this match.
Yeah, just outside the 18, and now you can pick your poison if you're Anthony Pulis. Well, they've been pretty special on set pieces this year. One luxury that we have of a hot microphone down on the pitch. Sounds like Sordo, and it will be Christian Sordo. See what he delivers here. Nice shot, and he scores! Hot off the delivery, Christian Sordo, his third goal of the season in the 58th minute. That goal brought to you by Wheels. Miami FC on the board with plenty of life. They trail 2-1.
And that's what this Miami FC side can do, is they can find goals in various ways of play and free kicks like this. And obviously Anthony Pulis and Christian Sorto were on the same page with the ability to shape it around a three-man wall. And the space in the area that was given up there by Loudoun United. And I mentioned that 60-minute mark earlier in the second half, and that's where you really regain a lot of that energy and a lot of that life for Miami FC. Now, can they carry that momentum into finding a second one? You break this when you're down 2-0 or trying to overcome any sort of deficit. You want to break the second half into 3 15-minute periods, and you want to attack it that way. You want to see if you can find one of the two, bring a goal back in that first 15 minutes. Now, that's a check. Now can you find that second equalizer in the second 15 minutes and then put yourself in a position where you possibly find a third?
Well, got to hold on now. Anything could happen. Corner kick right now for Miami FC. This corner kick brought to you by your Volkswagen dealers of South Florida. Again, Christian Sordo on that free kick. Just outside the 18, the 58th minute, his third goal of the season. And Eric, you've talked a lot about pace. The nastiness of that bend from Sorto. We'll go back to that goal in a moment, but just a great shot to sneak it inner half against Jacquemin. Murphy getting a piece of it. Paco Craig, no. Murphy can't get to it.
You can see the appeals for handball. And now a player down for Loudoun.
Well, that's plenty of blood. Get a number on that. Was that Santos? It was. Koa Santos.
And a number of additional opportunities here by Miami FC. Really well struck there by Paco Craig, but you see Miami FC appealing for a handball, and it did not look like...
Yeah, I didn't see that.
No, it didn't look like Landry just took it to the stomach, and that's where he was catching his breath. But as you mentioned, Santos coming out with quite a bit of blood there.
Yeah, Santos taking a shot to his forehead, and blood was not dripping, it was draining out of his head. And there's Christian Sorto, the man of the hour right now for Miami FC. Third goal of the season.
And just like Kyle Murphy, a former Loudoun United player as well.
Yeah, that's right. Scored a massive goal against Inter Miami in the US Open Cup earlier this season. Here's Curtis Thorne trying to create. Really went around Mines for a screen. Possession being held though by Miami FC. Duno, bad ball there. Love to get that thing back, but possession being controlled by Miami FC. And now we got two balls on the pitch. Unbelievable how that sequence just occurred. Wow.
I mean, unfortunately, it's really poor sequence there with the ball gets cleared and there's two balls on the field, and that's where the referee is making it clear that the play's got to stop right there. And unfortunately, it was a quick restart for Miami FC. And they're going to be more frustrated because the sequence ended with a goal by Kyle Murphy, and they're going to think that that should have been the equalizer.
Mines going through, but Jacquemin came out.
And we've seen that a number of times already throughout this matchup, is balls that were cleared all of a sudden bounce back onto the field, whether it's hitting the stands and coming back in or hitting some of the side signage and finding its way back on the field.
Murphy tried to win it. I don't think Murphy's going to be done anytime soon. Just looks like he's getting stronger as this match continues.
And that's what a veteran of the caliber and the quality of Kyle Murphy brings, is you just know that he's there and he's gonna find a way to influence it. So we see this free kick in the goal by Christian Sorto, and these are things that are perfected on the training ground after training a lot of times, because you have the traffic that you include, you have the wall to deal with.
Repetto on a run here. Claudio just waiting for that thing to come down. It felt like forever, and it was. Nothing he can do about that. Repetto overplaying because that ball just took a slow hop off the deck.
But those free kicks, those restarts were a lot of what I saw after practice yesterday. After they're finished, all the coaches are gone, the players are still there, and a lot of them that are in those situations, like Christian Sorto, they're practicing different scenarios and obviously coming to fruition and really capitalizing on it.
65th minute here from FIU Stadium. Mines trying to weave his way around, could not do so. Loses possession. Trying to get it back, and he does. It's a great play by Mines. Looks like we'll have a couple substitutions now for Loudoun United. And so for the first time tonight, Ryan Martin will go to his reserves. Hopkins being removed. Jace Clark is going to come into the match in a moment. And now that it is official, so Clark is in. I'd be remiss not to ask you, especially with what Lauren's comments were. It felt like forever ago in a day, but Lauren had mentioned just a few minutes ago the water break canceled because of the lightning sequence.
Yep.
Have you ever been a part of something like that before?
Yeah, those are some of the things that you have to deal with while the play is going on, and those are communicated from the referees. But it's interesting that she brings that up, because you deal with some of the injuries that we saw from Stanley and Cabral, which seemed to be muscle injuries and pulls.
Yeah.
You wonder if you have that water break. I think Cabral's was before when it would have been taken.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that's a reset, whether it's a coaching moment or time where players can get hydrated. But again, whether having other plans for that break.
Ooh, bodies colliding there. That was a tumble, if anything, from Aiden Rocha, who was taken out. Segber's saying that Rocha ran into his hip. Nice way of putting it.
Drawing the contact here. See the contact by Segbers, and this is where you don't want play to stop for Miami FC, because you like the energy, you like the urgency, and you need that to carry you to a second goal. And anytime there's a stoppage of play,
Santos with a line drive. Jeremy Garay is also in the contest for Loudoun United. So Garay and Clark both in. Hopkins now out. Landry has also been subbed out.
And what you have to like for Miami FC here in this second half is they're not settling for the wide services 30 yards out in these corners where it's easy for Loudoun to get set. They're driving to that end line. They're driving Loudoun United to defend their own 6-yard box. And that becomes very challenging, even just from not only the marking of proper space, but any sort of deflection can be a negative one, whether it finds the back of your net or finds a rebound or the foot of your opponent. So they're driving that service farther down that end line. And then here's another dangerous free kick for Christian Sorto, who's going to look to replicate the free kick from the 59th minute.
Sorto here, another set piece. Trying to get this game level. See if he takes the shot, he does! Jacquemin with the denial there. Jacquemin's first big stop of the night for Loudoun United. But you can see Christian Sorto earmarking that lower right-hand corner.
And now you saw a 4-man wall, and it makes that take a bit more predictable for Jacquemin, knowing that he's going to have to go to his left and make a save. Still a corner to have to deal with for Loudoun United.
Sorto again. Christian, nice chip. Paco Craig, Kyle Murphy, that shot goes over the net. Oh, moments away from tying this thing up. Bolu and Anthony Pulis' expression says enough.
And that's where you need to have the composure to tuck this one away. Clipped in service by Christian Sorto, and you could just see the reaction from everybody from Miami FC.
Bolu with 1 goal in the season. And you look at that attempt from Bolu with a great angle from our crew directly towards target. And it was almost like a Tetris piece, Eric, where all 3 players for Loudoun United were lined up in sync. And for Bolu, all you had to do was put that to the left or the right-hand side, and it would have been in the net.
Yeah, a number of options there to equalize, and unfortunately, sailing it over the crossbar, and they're going to have chances, but you just don't want it to be one like this that gets away. And sometimes, unfortunately, for teams that are trying to climb back into a game, I talked about breaking that second half into 3 15-minute periods, but that almost, I don't want to say deflates the comeback, but it definitely has that thought of, goodness, we could have been equal 2-2 and had plenty of time to find a third now.
All right, don't forget the other goal that was wiped away from Kyle Murphy.
Yep.
Because an extra ball was on the pitch. But there's still plenty of time on this thing. As we're in the 71st minute, Loudoun United up 2-1.
Pathfinder's only $199 a month during Weston Nissan's Drive for Less sales event. Drive the Pathfinder, only $199 a month, 33 in stock. Shop WestonNissan.com. Drive for less at Weston Nissan.
Back on the attack from FIU Stadium with Eric Dobransky and Lord Markwith. I'm David Gascon. Miami FC trying to snap a 5-match winless streak. We've had some unfortunate mishaps in the first half. Injuries, that's it. Conceding a couple goals to boot. But Christian Sorto, his 3rd goal of the season, occurring here in the second half, has given Miami FC a lift, and they've had 2 other opportunities. Make it 3, in fact. Sorto on a free kick, and Kyle Murphy had a goal that was wiped away because an extra ball was on the pitch.
Your attention, please. Substitution.
Another substitution here.
Number 9, Tommy Williamson.
Williamson coming off. Juan Ramirez comes in for him.
In the 72nd minute.
Substitution brought to you by Good Greek Moving and Storage, your superhero movers. So now Ryan Martin has gone to his reserves on 3 separate occasions.
And although Tommy Williamson doesn't have a goal on the night, he's been very influential on the offensive side for Loudoun. Made McGuire make that tough near post save, and that was really where the momentum started to shift for Loudoun United. They started to find those positive balls forward, and then along with the positive entry ball, they found the switch. able to find that far side, unlocking that area, and that led to the Jackson Hopkins goal.
And as it stands, Hopkins' goal would be the game-winning goal. Shots now are 11-9 in favor of Miami FC. They have 4 on target to 3 for Loudoun United. And the one major difference is the penalty being awarded, as Wesley Leggett forced Moises Hernandez into 2 bad fouls, one that was actually called. And then the end result was the penalty being awarded. Zach Ryan did the rest. Possession, though, has been geared towards Miami FC, 54% to 46. But they have clearly been the better team in the second half, outside of a short flurry in the first 5 minutes out of the gate.
Agreed. They've really found good tempo in the build, and then sparking that urgency in that final third. The activity, I talked about the predictability in the first half, that it just became a bit too predictable. They weren't able to manipulate. There was no deception. And now you've seen a lot of it. A lot, you know, it's asked a lot of different questions of Loudoun, and I think they're still gonna have to deal with it, because Miami FC is definitely hunting for that second goal and trying to give themselves plenty of time to go ahead and pick up 3 points if they can.
Yeah, I always try to equate it in this sense like a boxer. Some boxers are better when they take a first punch. And in this case, Miami took 2 of them on the chin.
Yeah, and I think that's something that...
Well, this could be a difficult challenge going against, but the official will let it play on for the moment. Murphy lost possession. No penalty, no foul on that, as Benjamin Mines looked like he was taken out by Jace Clark.
Yeah, that looked extremely tough for both players. And as you mentioned, nothing was brought back, even when Kyle Murphy was dispossessed.
Rocha, poor feed of Ramirez. Christian Sordo having to work quickly.
But you mentioned it, that boxing analogy. I mean, the thing for Anthony Pulis and this team is you go ahead and concede the first after really a fairly decent spell of play in that first 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you just wish that it didn't require us conceding a second goal to start really playing the way you want to.
Christian Sorto making a move. Sorto dancing a bit. Can't do anything with it after that. Looked like he had 2 moments. How about a chance here? That one rolls in. Dewuna couldn't hit it flush.
And Christian Sorto is feeling in really good rhythm right now on the ball. I mean, that one got away from him just a bit there.
Yeah.
But you could tell that he's playing with a lot of confidence there in the final third after that free kick goal. Just unfortunately, the numbers for Miami FC were committed there, and just losing it right as you had a number of trail runners coming in.
Unfortunate too in the 77th minute, and he could not make that one final jab step with possession. But Christian Sordo now 1 off the pace of Ryan Murphy, who leads the team with 4 goals this season. Sordo with 3. Never a dull moment, though, with Miami FC. It doesn't matter if they're winning, losing, or playing to a draw. Mines. Oh, Mines taken down just outside the 18. Oh, my. Elvis Osmanovic was right there. You can't beat the official on that point, Eric.
No, and catching Mines here from behind. Looks like the foul was on Garay. But this is going to be an interesting free kick here, because we talk about penalty kicks and Zach Ryan in the first half, where you be decisive, pick your spot, and then execute. It's almost the same here for a free kick, especially with Christian Sorto on the ball. You're in really good range. You do have to get it up and down, but you do have a number of options at your disposal.
See what Sorto does with this. Applies the pressure and trying to go top shelf. Michael Salazar coming into the contest. So Sorto trying to pick that 90. And Eric, do you agree with that shot?
It's a bit of overcomplicating the finish there. Obviously, you do have to get it up and down, but I still think he had not an easier option, because it's still a high-level ask in terms of the execution part of it, but I still think that you have to force Jackman into a save.
Yeah.
Whether it's bringing it up and down and allowing Kyle Murphy to scare that back line with those secondary opportunities. But now, and I don't want to say that finding 2 goals in 10 minutes is out of the realm of possibility, but you get a really good free kick opportunity that you sail high and wide. Now you have to make sure for Miami FC that you find that equalizer. You've got Loudoun pinned back.
Sorto puts this one in. All kinds of traffic. Thorne. Jackman was out of his net. Mines on the approach. Long way. Numerous players. We got contact that's going to go against Miami FC. Jackman and Zach Ryan both down on the canvas.
Yeah, it looked like Salazar had just been backing up, trying to track that ball down.
It looked like Salazar got pushed into Jackman.
Yep. It's always those secondary opportunities off free kicks where you have all those bodies forward already, and if you can get a quality service in,
Jackman's made a couple nice stops in the night. Jake McGuire the same.
And to that point, I mean, that finish by Christian Sorto is special.
Yeah.
I mean, what a service there, and forcing the clearance, earning themselves a corner kick. But you're right, Jackman has come up with really, he hasn't had to make a really big save, just because he's been really decisive off his line and communicating really well. And it's going to have to be the same, having to deal with this corner kick here.
Aiden Stanley typically takes a lot of these corners, but because of the injury in the first half, it's Curtis Thorne's show, it feels like, from here on out. Thorne. Jackman comes out. Wow, that was earmarked again for the net. Ofiemu came flying in like a missile. That ball just outside of his reach. Craig for Salazar. Michael settles it down nicely for Paco Craig, and far side official, the flag up.
Just as we're complimenting Jackman, he overruns this, and it looks like it was cleared out of the box.
Yeah, I thought Ofiemu didn't get a piece of it. Then we go back to the replay.
It looked like he'd cleared it out of the box. He'd overrun it just a bit too, and that was, you go to the opportunity from Bolu, and then you look at that corner kick. And it's hard to say any team going down 2-0 is going to feel hard done, not be equal, finding the equalizer, but Miami FC certainly is going to look at a number of these opportunities. And again, that ball, that goal by Kyle Murphy, where that second ball came onto the field, you can look at that one, but that's gonna be a little tough, because any referee is going to stop play there when a second ball comes onto the field. It was just unfortunate that they had restarted so quickly and weren't able to take advantage.
Salazar, great bid to try to feed that to Murphy. Murphy, he's breathing awfully heavy right now.
But I still think for Miami FC, they're gonna have one more clear-cut opportunity, and that's where that conversion rate's gonna be so important, making sure that when they do, they bury it, they find the equalizer, and obviously Anthony Pulis and his Miami FC side are gonna get very frustrated with the stoppage of play now. And you could see Anthony Pulis talking to the fourth official, and really a lot of the times, there's nothing that the referee's gonna be able to do for the stoppage, because you've got to stop it. If a player's down and they're injured or pull, you know, need a trainer to come on, they're gonna stop play. But what you wanna make clear with the communication to the fourth official, and then obviously making the center official aware of it, is that you wanna make sure they're adding time and they're keeping track of what's gonna be with the stoppage time, and make sure you have enough time to go ahead and find an equalizer as well and extend play.
Coanda into the contest. Akamboni is out. Murphy trying to get to it. Clark was there though. Chase not starting this contest, does come here in the second half for Ryan Martin. Loudoun United trying to win back-to-back contests. Something I feel like was never possible given the fact that they were on a 7-game losing streak, dating back all the way to April the 23rd. This one played through, looking for Salazar. Thorne.
And I think along with positive results, I think both of these sides are looking for consistent performances. You talked to Ryan Martin, we talked about it in the first half, was he wants to see his team replicate what they did against FC Tulsa. Not seeing a lot of the possession. They were outpossessed 67.2% to about 32, 33%, but scoring 3 goals, only conceding the 1.
'86th minute here. Does Miami FC have another gear in them? Be curious to see how much stoppage time will be provided in this contest. Speaking of that, if you can't watch the match, turn on SiriusXM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including the return of USL All Access Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, starting June the 13th, just a couple days ago. Plus, hear more live matches from USL, MLS, English Premier League, and much, much more, all on SiriusXM FC 157, and also the SXM app. With Lauren Mark, with Eric Dobransky, I'm David Gascon. A Saturday night here in Miami at FIU Stadium. Miami FC trying to pick up their 3rd win of the season. They sit at 2-5-7 with 13 points. Loudoun United 4-9-1. They also have 13 points. Miami FC played with a 3-3 draw last week on the road in Texas at RGV. And for Loudoun United, they were down 1-0 to FC Tulsa, battled back to not only equalize, but be triumphant. 3-1 was the final. Zach Ryan accounted for 2 goals in that contest. Scored once here tonight. He's got 8 now in the season. Salazar looked like he was held up for a brief moment. No whistle, no foul. Daniel Chica might have gotten away with one there. A little gamesmanship. Mines to Thorne. Softly to Mines. Ben, nice play with a fake. Salazar looking outside. Dawuda, no, that was blocked on the way through.
Just get your body across, protect.
Dewuna had to pull the trigger. Wesley Leggett able to get a leg on it.
And that's that drive to that end line for that service that Miami FC has really done a tremendous job of in the second half. Unfortunately, it's not produced that second goal, but there's that discussion that we were talking about with Anthony Pulis and that fourth official is trying to make sure that the officials are aware of these stoppages and adding as much time as they can.
Zane, who was down. I mean, you can understand the gripe.
Yep, for sure. And I think that's something for Anthony Pulis. You heard him. He's telling his team to keep believing. Even though you're going to think that you should have a bit more time for stoppage time. Again, it just takes one moment. And it's their responsibility to go create that and find it.
90th minute. Waiting for the fourth official to confirm what we're going to get. Heard Anthony Pulis say, "You're only giving us 4?" So
Yep.
we'll find out.
But then last week against RGV,
yeah,
you have a 3-2 lead, and you see the massive number.
Yeah.
And
7 minutes of stoppage time. It's you like you get half of that in a half.
And then, as you spoke about, the 9 minutes in the first half.
Yeah.
So having to play an extra 16 minutes of stoppage time, and when you're on the opposite side of the result, you need that time that RGV had. And obviously you can hear the frustration from Anthony Pulis, and you got to make sure that Loudoun's not able to turn you around. And
trouble here. Ryan, good stop by McGuire, not giving an inch. Fourth official indicated 4 minutes of stoppage time. And naturally, if you're Loudoun United, no desire to hurry up.
No, as you could place it on that corner, you could do whatever you'd like as the opponent, but they're gonna take these restarts, take as much time as you want, and that's the part of this game where you've earned those opportunities.
It's simply a game of keep away. It's exactly what's going to happen here, I would imagine, for the next 3 minutes. Segbers trying to win possession, can't. Shots 13-9 in favor of Miami FC. Zane here. Zach Ryan.
Yeah, no need to go to frame for Loudoun United. Just keep the ball as long as you can, limit the opportunities that Miami FC can create.
And you get some frustration fouls there,
Yep.
which will happen. Gorey get taken out.
Really good job here by Loudoun, just connecting passes, keeping possession, and then putting Miami FC in a really frustrating situation where you pick up the foul, and then again, easily a restart where you take off another 20, 30 seconds when you go short.
Extremely professional as that shot misses. Rocha, I don't know if he should have taken that, but nevertheless.
And that's going to be probably a moment that Ryan Martin's going to kind of look and be forced into a 40-yard take.
Here's Salazar. Well, Loudoun United spent about 2 minutes and 30 seconds just killing clock before Rocha decided to take an ill-advised shot. Mines was taken out. Mines gets it back, and now gets taken out there. A little curious with Ramirez getting a tongue lashing from Zane. Abdul, spirited comment towards his teammate.
It's really about winning that tackle along the sideline, forcing Zane into the second tackle that draws the yellow, and then puts his team in a spot where they're going to have to deal with this service. They're going to send a lot of numbers. You could see McGuire up there as well.
McGuire 6'3". Thorne bends this one in. The header ping-ponged around and a vacated net. We'll see if Miami FC has one more shot towards target, and they do not. Elvis Osmanovic, I'll tell you what, sometimes officials are rather liberal when it comes to stoppage time. Osmanovic acting like he double parked somewhere, needed to get out of FIU Stadium. He walks off the pitch, and so is Loudoun United. They're triumphant here on the night. 2-1 is the final.
And you have to like the momentum that Miami FC created, but you just cannot put yourself in a 2-0 hole. And what a second half performance by Christian Sorto.
Yeah, he's our Tata 2 man of the match. Christian Sorto, his third goal of the season. Here it is, Eric.
And this is a special finish. Beating Jacobin to his left, shaping it around that three-man wall. And he got 3 good looks on Loudoun United on free kicks. 2 of them being really dangerous. Unfortunately, the third sailing high and wide, but that goal really special from Christian Sorto, putting his team in a position to find the equalizer well before that 60th minute. Plenty of time, but unable to find the second goal.
So not enough, though, for Miami FC. Christian Sorto, you see that one glaring off the crossbar, getting stopped by Jacobin. The one goal from Sorto, but not good enough. Loudoun United triumph at 2-1 this evening.
Some people think Miami is just flamingos and palm trees.
And hell yes, we have badass sunsets.
Miami's Little Havana,
Doral,
Little Haiti,
Hialeah,
Wynwood, Coconut Grove,
Kendall,
Calle Ocho,
Sweetwater,
Homestead,
cortaditos y coladas,
empanadas y croquetas.
Is so much more. This is a 305.
This is who we really are. This is what we are all about.
I am Latino.
I'm a disruptor.
I am LGBTQ.
I am a villain.
I am a mother.
I am Haitian.
I'm an athlete.
I am an activist.
I am a king.
I am American dream.
I am the future.
I am
Miami FC.
No one was born a hero. It's an everyday journey. There are no shortcuts, no days off, no perfect scenarios. Things won't always go the way you expect. But overcoming challenges is part of the game too. Your time is now. When passion runs through you, become your own hero.
Back here at FIU Stadium, put a top on this thing. Loudoun United triumphant over Miami FC. 2-1 is the final score. Christian Soto, our top-2 man of the match. But Eric, Miami FC now has failed to win in the last 6 matches. We look at the full-time highlights.
And they're going to be really disappointed with this result tonight. And it was a first half that they had a good start. This foul by Hernandez, obviously the first initial one, and then Leggett getting around the corner, and then Zach Ryan finishing the PK. Really good job by McGuire getting to his right, but unable to parry it wide. And it was really a tale of 2 halves for Miami FC, because you know how important that second goal is going to be, and you almost see out the first half. And then it just takes this one counterattacking moment. Jackson Hopkins dragging his defender wide, and then gets the touch inside, beating McGuire to his left. And then the second half for Miami FC, really the field was tilted. There was a lot of action and a lot of deception there for Miami FC, and you thought they were going to find one early on. And then this Christian Soto finish, this set piece, how special is that? Just wraps it around, as you see the fans there, wraps it around that wall. And then it was at perfect time. And this is that second ball that comes on, quick play, Mines plays it in, and Kyle Murphy with the finish. And Miami FC is going to be looking at that moment, but there was still the Akinyoti chance that fell to his feet. And then this ball clipped in, and this is the chance by Akinyoti. Just has to have the composure there to tuck it away. He has so many options, and it looks like that secondary bounce just catches him high, and then he sails it over the bar.
And a tough luck loser for Anthony Pulis in Miami FC. They fall tonight. 2-1 was the final score. They outshot Loudoun United, had the better opportunities in terms of possession, shots towards target inside the 18. And unfortunate for them, they lose a match and also 2 more players as well. Hayden Stanley, Gabriel Cabral, both injured in the opening 45 minutes of play. Obviously, you only hope that they can return next week, but regardless, not only 1 point, but 3 points slip aside here tonight for Miami FC. And their efforts, they could have done something different, but unfortunate for them, they could not. So for Loudoun United, they pull off their 5th win of the season. They improved to 5-9-1, 16 points. Miami FC falls to 2-6-7. They'll be back at it next week at Monterey Bay FC on June the 24th. Kickoff time is at 10 o'clock Eastern. For my broadcast partner, Eric Dabransky and Lauren Markwith, I'm David Gascon saying so long from FIU Stadium. Jackson Hopkins, the game-winning goal. Loudoun United wins it 2-1 over Miami FC.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.